John Connors was an Irishman that lived in the town of Killarney. And John had a large family. He had 7 daughters and no sons. He was so angry about not having any sons that when his 7th daughter was born, he wouldn't come in from the fields to see the mother or the child. And he even wished the mother dead. Clearly, he got over it because 2 years later, he had a son. He was so thrilled when the women came from the house to tell him that he had finally had a son that he got excited and he broke the spade he was using in the field across his knee. He ran home to the house and he told his wife, "This is the best boy in this town. There's not a single person in this neighborhood that's good enough to be godparents for our boy. I'm going to go over to another town both to be godfather and godmother because no one here is good enough." With that, he bridled his horse and saddled his horse and went on down the road to go to Beaufort. Get sponsors for the boy. Well, this being Ireland, there's a pub on the road. So he stopped into the pub and he bought a round of drinks for everyone that was there because he was finally the father of a son. After a little while, it got dark, got back on the horse and started down the road. A little while later, came on a beautiful white with a red coat with red tails, tall black top hat, and the man said hello on the road. And John Connors said hello back. And the man said, "Where are you going in the middle of the night?" And John Connors said, "I'm going to Beaufort to get sponsors for my newborn son." And the man said, "Oh, you foolish guy, you passed the road back a mile away. Go back, turn around, and make the first right that you see down the road." John Connors thanked him, took off down the road. About an hour later, he came upon the same man on the white horse. And the man said, "Aren't you the guy that I saw a little while ago looking for the road to Beaufort?" And he said, "I am. I can't find the road." And the man said, "Shh, you passed it by long ago. Go back and make a left on the road when you come to the small..." John Connors rode off. Still could not find the turn. Not long after that, he ran into the man for a 3rd time and said, "Still haven't found the road? Well, you've passed it by now and it's way too late to be on the road. Come to my house and spend the night and you won't have to worry about it until daylight in the morning." John Connors thanked him, and the man rode along with them until they came to a beautiful Irish castle. John was pretty impressed that the man lived in such a wonderful castle and he was looking forward to a night spent in the castle on the nice down comforters and the beautiful white linen sheets. Sure enough, they have a nice dinner and the man tells John he's welcome to go to bed. John goes upstairs, takes his clothes off, climbs underneath the cupboards, falls into a deep sleep. And the man comes upstairs, takes his clothes, and like magic, forms a corpse that looks just like John Connors. Dresses the corpse in John Connors' clothes, puts the corpse on John Connors' horse, and sends it back to Killarney. Not long after that, the horse comes up, riding up with the body of John Connors on top. Everyone comes in, gathers around, and laments the death of poor John Connors. Because isn't he a man with a large family to feed? They take the body off the horse, they wash it down, they lay it out on a table like Irish custom, and they have, of course, an Irish wake. Well, the next morning the priest comes in and they have a funeral mass for John Connors. And 3 weeks goes by. 3 weeks, John Connors is sleeping in the castle. Finally, after 3 weeks, the man came in and said, "Wake up! You've been sleeping for 3 days. It's time for you to get on the road." And John Connor jumps up and says, 3 days, 3 days. How could I have been sleeping for 3 days? The man says, I have no idea why you slept so long, but it's time for you to hit the road. And John Connor looks around and he says, my clothes, they're gone. What can I wear? And the man said, your clothes, I don't know what happened to your clothes. You're on your way. Just take a sheet and be off with you. Well, John Connors was just devastated. Here he is, not wearing a stitch of clothes. He says, a sheet, all I can have is a sheet, not even a shirt. The man said, no, go. It's been 3 days that you've been sleeping here. It's time for you to hit the road. Well, John Connors takes the sheet. He's getting angry. He's fearful of this man that's getting angry. So he takes the sheet and he heads off down the road. And as he's walking away, he finally stops and he looks back to get one last look at the people. And he sees nothing before him but of grace. Well, at this, John Connors doesn't know what to think. And at that point, he gets close to Killarney and he realizes he's not wearing anything but a sheet. So he decides to go off the road and he sneaks down by the bog where no one would be because it's Sunday morning. Well, sure enough, there's 3 little boys that are playing hooky from church. And they're down in the bog. Well, they look up and see John Connors in a sheet. They scream and run. Because in the old days in Ireland, when someone died, it was customary to take the dead man's clothes, sprinkle them with holy water, and give them to the poor or a relative that would need them. That way, the person who received the clothes would wear them to church for 3 consecutive Sundays, sprinkling holy water each week, and then the gods would give the dead person nice clothes in heaven. Well, surely because John Connors was walking around in a sheet, the wife had not done what she was supposed to. So the little boys go and tell their mothers. The mothers go and tell Mrs. Connors that they've seen John's ghost and he has nothing but a sheet on him. They said, you did not give the clothes to the poor like you were supposed to. And she says, yes, I did. She goes off to her cousin's house and she says, you heathen, what are you doing? Well, you're sitting down here to breakfast. My husband's ghost is walking around with no clothes for the netherworld. She said, nonsense, I just came back from church. This is my 3rd Sunday going to church. He definitely has clothes in the netherworld. So she says, everything's done. She thinks the crazy ladies don't know what they're talking about. She goes home. Well, at this point, John Connors comes and knocks on her door. The youngest daughter opens the door, sees father, and lets out a scream. She slams the door, won't let him in, and screams, Daddy's ghost, Daddy's ghost. Everyone puts the covers over their heads, and they all start praying because they know that ghosts can come in the keyhole. Well, at that point, John Connors goes off to his uncle's, knocks on the door. Sure enough, the uncle's maid looks out to see who's there. She lets out a scream because didn't she go to the funeral 3 weeks before? At this point, John doesn't know what to think. He ends up going to the priest, knocks on the door, and the priest's maid sees him and screams, there's a ghost of John Connors. Well, luckily the priest realizes there's no such thing as a ghost. He invites him in, gives him some clothes, and says, what are you doing walking around with no clothes? I gave your funeral 3 weeks ago. And John Connors said, I've only been gone 3 days. And with that, the priest discovered that Daniel O'Donoghue, who is the king of the fairies, had cursed John Connor for being so picky about the godparents for his son. And with that, he gave John Connors a blessing, and John Connors never left town again to go to Beaufort to get godparents for his children. That's it.